Good afternoon. Welcome to another Dante's Den. And I just clicked so fast there. So let's do what we're supposed to do before we get started. Okay, that is the way that is supposed to work. We are supposed to run Dante's Den first. Then you're supposed to see us. And then we go into the show. Chauncey will kill me after the show. So,
Immediately, if not sooner.
but that's the way that is supposed to work. That's the way that's supposed to work. We had a we had a total system freeze, and so we had to I had to reshuffle real quick to make sure we were not at the mercy of our internet service provider on our end, on my end of things. So, welcome to another edition of Dante's Den. My name is LD Robinson, and I am here today with um, Mr. Chauncey Dunham, who is the owner of A Dante Production. And we are here with our guest, Mr. Bennie Yarbrough, who is a saxophonist extraordinaire. And so we want to say welcome.
Thank you. Hi, everybody.
Hi. So, Mr. C, what you been up to?
Today I had a very interesting day. We're having a meeting in October in Daytona, so I went down and looked at the Hilton Hotel we're going to be staying in,
Oh,
and then I got lazy. So instead of coming home and hitting the kitchen, we had lunch at Rose Villa,
okay. Okay.
and I decided to have chicken and waffles.
Oh, chicken and waffles is always a nice thing to have.
It
It's
worked.
never, it's hard to go bad with chicken and waffles and some really good maple syrup.
Exactly.
It was good. That's all I can say.
It was good. Well, we're glad to have you back here in Dante's Den. It's been a while since we've been here, so we've been busy doing concerts, but it's been a while since we've been back in the den. So we're happy to be back today, and we're especially glad to be here today with Bennie Yarbrough. And so, Bennie, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get into our interview, and we'll go whichever way the road takes us.
Wonderful. Well, once again, my name is Benny Yarbrough. I was originally born and raised in Denver, Colorado. And then I went to college in Atlanta, Georgia after I graduated from high school at dear old Morris Brown College. Proud alum of Morris Brown and my
Yeah.
HBCUs. So, especially with things getting back on track with us, getting our accreditation back. Um, Musically, I've been around music really all my life. I've been playing sax since I was 4 years old. I had my first paid gig when I was 10.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
yeah, I had my first paid gig when I was 10, and then I joined the music union in Denver. I was 17 when I joined the music union,
Oh
and I
my.
had to, I remember I had to go get a special letter because I was underage. You couldn't join the union unless you were 18.
Mhm.
And I was like 16 and a half, and I was technically playing with them, but I couldn't join a part of the music union. So yeah. Then of course, when I went to Atlanta after high school, it was just music, music, music. Even though I majored in aerospace engineering and physics, so I have a dual degree, but I always kept music in my background, and that was really because my mom and my grandmother. I'm an only child, and my mom and my grandmother felt like a music degree wasn't a real degree. I was like, man. They were like, you can't make no money with no music degree. I'm like, but this is what I want to do. They're like, they weren't hearing it. They weren't hearing it. It was interesting. I mean, I had a chance to graduate early in my sophomore year in college. The dean of music at the time, she was like, Benny, this is what I want you to do. If you just do this X, Y, and Z, you're done. I'm like, well, but I got to finish courses. I got classes I got to do. She said, I'm the
Mhm.
dean. Man, I called my mom, my grandma. They were like, no, she ain't real. She lying. You ain't changing your major. They were like, you just trying to get out of your degree. I'm like, no, I'm not. I promise. I really can get out of school early. Nope. Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah. in a nutshell, that's me. I've been playing ever, just forever, for a very long time. Loving it.
Wow, first paid gig at 10 years old. That's
Yeah,
impressive.
it was a wedding it was for my mom's friend. It was my mom's friend's friend at a church. And so
Hmm.
they wanted me to play. I played Here and Now on the soprano saxophone for the wedding.
Oh wow, Luther. Okay.
How much did they pay you?
I was gonna
So
ask, like, so how much do you pay a 10-year-old? Do you
so
pay a 10-year-old the same thing as you pay, 30-year-old with a mortgage?
Ooh.
no. So I was paid $40 for that gig.
Oh,
And
that's not bad. That's not bad.
I remember my grandmother at the time. She was like, okay, my grandmother is an entrepreneur phenom, so she.
Looks like we lost him there for a minute.
Okay.
Okay, I don't know what happened. I just saw it went away.
You're back.
You're
I'm
back.
back. Okay, so what happened was, I remember taking the $40, and my grandmother was like, okay, listen, you're now a professional, so you need to start acting like that. I was like, what? She said, you can keep $10 out of this, the other 30 you need to put away. So she took the $30.
Oh
And
wow.
my grandmother took the $30, and I didn't see the $30 from that until I was 16 and a half when I got my own job. And she gave me that money to open my own bank account in my own business name.
Wow. That's pretty cool. Most
So,
kids would be, I mean, I imagine you were like, I had plans for that at the 30,
yeah,
but
I did. What was the teen-year going to do? Candy,
yeah.
toys. That's really what I wanted to do.
Hmm.
But no, my grandmother put it away. And down the line, I think it was really her trying to see if I was really going to be serious about it.
Hmm.
And so it was really where at 10, so I did one wedding. And then by the time I was 11, I did maybe about 2 or 3 weddings that summer. And then as I got older, my summers became full of just doing weddings. And it was at one point I got in trouble because I was doing something every weekend. And my mom was like, you still my child, right? Like, you need to tell some of these
You
people no.
signing up for these gigs, telling these people yes.
Yeah, my mom's like, I'm driving. No, I got things I got to do. Like, no. Yeah, so
Yeah. Like, yeah,
that's
I'll be there.
hey, I'll be there. Hey, mom, I need to no, It's funny,
It's
just
like,
it's funny
no,
because
no, no. I'm not gonna be doing this every weekend.
yeah. And I remember it's so funny. I remember I remember when I bought my very first sax for myself, right? I was in high school and I didn't have a car. And I'll never forget, my mom still hangs this over my head. I said, Mom, can you take me over here to the pawn shop to go get this soprano saxophone? It's brand new. I want to go get it. And my mom said, oh, you paid for it. I was like, yep, I paid for it. She said, okay, where's my gas money? I don't have no gas money. She said, well, whatever it cost me in gas, that's how much of that saxophone I own. I was like, oh, man. I said, come on, Mom.
Whoa.
She said, that ain't yours. I own a piece of that instrument. Dang, man, I can't ever win.
But those are excellent lessons in terms of entrepreneurship.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
raising a child.
And
Yeah,
raising
that
a
part.
child
Yeah.
and owning your own instruments.
Partially.
Buy your equipment, don't lease it out to your mom.
Right. Partially, I feel privileged about it because it was, looking back, the lessons that I learned from it all are still
Mhm.
some of the same things I apply today.
Mhm.
That still work today. I'm mindful of when I ask for someone to take me somewhere. Hey, let me give you some gas money, so you can't say you own a piece of this.
That's right. That's right. That's right. So I have to ask before we get into our questions, what did you do with your aerospace engineering and physics?
Oh,
Ooh.
wow! Really, John? You just gonna put me out there. Actually,
Ooh.
ooh, yeah, that was that left hook. No, so actually, I didn't do anything with it. I when I finished out of school, I tried it, and I was just like, it's not me.
Mhm.
And but because my mother being who she was at the time, I got into IT.
Mhm.
So I still love technology, and I think that was the part about aerospace engineering and physics that I loved, was that I love technology. And a part of me really, as a child, I wanted to be an astronaut, and I was really serious about going. But sometimes when you really try to see where you're really supposed to go, and as you get older and you're finding yourself, and you realize this may not be what I was actually built and put here for.
Mm-hmm.
So it just really became where me doing aerospace engineering and physics actually became a conflict of me doing music. I had such a passion for doing music. The more and more I wanted to do schoolwork, the more and more music was pulling me away. I was like, well, let's just get this degree and get on us out of here. So I can say I'm finished.
Let's satisfy them, and then I
Right.
can get to what I really want to do.
Right. And that's really what it was like. They were like, and my grandmother, she used to always tell me, she said, you can do whatever you want to do until you finish that degree. I don't care what you do in music. But her mindset was, if music never pans out to being you making, the money that you need to make, you have something to fall back on. And I'm grateful for that, because when I was younger, I remember advice that I got from one of the guys. He went to Berkeley. Yeah, he went to Juilliard. He was a trumpet player that I met in Denver. And I remember him telling me, he said, whatever you do, don't make this passion something that you have to depend on to live. He said, because this very thing that you're passionate about, you'll love to hate it, and you won't want to do it. I was like, okay. So I found other things to make sure I had a job doing something else, so I wouldn't have that part of, oh, I gotta go gig, I gotta go to rehearsal, and I didn't want that. I wanted to be able to play music and just be free and be open and being able to express myself.
Oh, nice. So you started at 4, your first instrument, and you had your first paid gig at 10. At which point along the journey did you really realize this is totally and completely it? Not really considering I got to go to school because my mom and my grandmother are making sure that I have something to fall back on. At which point did you realize that this is totally and completely the thing that I want to do, that I know I'm called to do?
I would say I realized that in high school. I didn't realize I had the gift until middle school, but I remember I was in the 10th grade, and my band director came up to me, and we were going over some music. I was always involved in music, and we were going over some music because I was auditioning for the all-state jazz band. And it was just this rhythm I just could not get. I'm like, man, I don't understand. I don't know why I just can't get the rhythm. And he looked at me. He was like, Benny, you can do this. I was like, I don't know if I can. And so he's like, I'm gonna prove it to you. And so we did a gig with the high school in the city, and he recorded my solo. And then he came back and he transcribed. It was the first time I'd ever seen someone transcribe like someone's music. He transcribed it. He said, you know that rhythm that you keep having issues with? I'm like, yeah. He said, look, you played it there, 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 and there, and there, and there, and there. Like, in one solo, I played it like 4 times. And I was like, oh. He said, so you have it. You need to just feel it. Stop depending on the paper. And then that's when I realized that I had a gift, because he was like, you need to just stand on yourself. And actually, Mr. Hamilton was the reason for that. So it was like in the 10th grade in high school, I was like, I can actually do this. And even from there, he kind of cultivated me a little bit. I remember he took all of my music, all of my CDs, and he said, okay, I had to take all of my saxophonists, and he said, okay, we're only going to start with 1, and I want you to learn every single song on that album, whether you like it or not. I was like, what? I don't like every song on the album. Learn it. I'm just like, oh, you got to be kidding me. So there were times where I had listened to just one artist over and over. It used to drive my mom crazy. She's like, same song over and over and over until I can play the whole album without mistakes. There were some things that I knew I wasn't capable, or I had to learn, but that was the whole point of it. So it was really then, I think, 10th grade in high school was I like, I really, really could do this music thing, but I don't know how I'm going to convince my mom and my grandma to put that out. This is going to be difficult. Yeah. I even missed out on a scholarship to Berklee College of Music, because they were like, nope, a music degree is not a real degree in my book.
Oh, like, wow.
It is a real degree. They're like, what you going to do, teach? Yeah. They were like, nope, you're not teaching.
Wow. I think the funny thing is that a lot of times everyone gets taught by someone, right?
Yeah.
So the physicist is taught by someone, the aerospace engineer is taught by someone, the musician is taught by someone. And so there is even the motivational speaker is taught by someone. In some
Exactly.
way, we all get trained um, to perfect our skill, to hone our craft. And that is always interesting when I hear people say, well, no, you won't be a teacher. And I think, well, I don't know.
Oh no.
You might want to
Like,
think about this again
well,
because every field, every person gets taught by someone. The medical doctor doesn't come out of the womb being a medical doctor. He has to
exactly.
be taught. She has to be taught
Yeah.
and trained in medical practice and medical principles. So it's always an interesting conversation.
Yeah.
I adore teachers, and I think that I mean, I not just think, I know that the rest of us would not be here without them.
Right. And you know, and it's so funny. I actually took a stint. I did an intern at South Atlanta High School as assistant band director,
Hmm.
teaching,
Hmm.
doing the very thing they were like, no. I'm like, yeah. And I enjoy it. You know, I enjoy that part about teaching, you know. And at the end of the day, at some point we're all teachers and we're all students. So
This is correct. That is the essence of being. If you want to do what you do well, you will always be a student of your craft.
always,
You will always be a student of your
yeah,
craft.
yes,
So
always.
music touches us in many ways. It is really that one thing that sort of bypasses our mind and goes straight to our heart. Um, I'm a fast driver, and so I can attest to this. you know, I if I've got on something that's really fast paced, I can look up and I might mistakenly zip, like this morning on my way to church. I almost zipped past a sheriff that is normally not in that spot where he was. But I had some Toby back playing, and Toby was
Yeah,
rocking,
that'll
and I
do
was rocking with him, and we just almost rolled right past the sheriff.
it. Toby
So,
said, break it down.
yes, I had to say, Brad, I had to talk myself real quick. Break it down, Londa, break it down. So, music is that one thing that really just bypasses our mind and gets right to our heart. As an artist, how does this unconscious behavior of your audience affect the way, um, affect how and the way in which you play, knowing
Um,
that you will connect with them in some way or some fashion.
for me, actually, it's something that I take very, 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 very serious in my music is because I try not to be, I don't want to be known as a cerebral musicianist. I want to be known as someone that when I play, I'm able to communicate your emotion without you having to say the words.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be able to play how you feel. I want
Mm-hmm.
to be able to when you come in and you're having that day and you hear my music, it reflects how you feel and it gives you the release. For me, it's really playing for the soul. So I try to reach everyone. I don't try to overthink my music. You know, I don't try to overreach. You know, there's of course there's parameters we all stay within, but I really try to make
Mm-hmm.
sure that I'm touching your heart when I play, uh, and that I'm able to kind of hopefully translate something for you that you just couldn't put into words.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Mr. C, I got a question for you.
Sure.
When you're thinking about partnering with artists, is this something that you consider? Their ability, not just their technical skill on their instrument or with their voice, but their ability, do you consider their ability to connect with you as a listener? And does that lead you to believe they'll be able to connect with audiences as well?
One thing I will not do, and that's partner with anybody that I don't feel them as a person.
Hmm.
When I met Benny, I'm not sure how many hours we stayed on the phone. However, we connected in such a way that I told him last week when I talked to him. I said, Benny, I'm eating dinner. This is going to be a short conversation. So it was. It was a short conversation. It was only 45 minutes.
Oh, only. Oh, okay.
That's probably our shortest
So,
conversation ever.
so I feel that if I'm going to have a problem with the musician, so will the audience.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's somebody that I don't click with, I tell them how nice it was to meet them and I wish them well. And that's the end of it. So obviously, Benny's here for the long haul with some of these conversations.
45 minutes. That's
That was
the
a
shortest.
short one.
That's
I'd
a
say
short
that.
conversation with me and Mr. C. That's a
I think
very short conversation.
that's a short one. That's a short one. So I think it's so important because sometimes you hear people and if you go to different shows and things, you will see that people are technically strong, but that sense of connecting with the audience is missing. Um, and that piece actually, if you can connect with an audience, and I speak this from a music lover and a listener, if I always think that if you can connect with the audience, whether or not you're technically strong in every single way, that your ability to connect with them transcends the technical ability. And because of the emotion that you help them to feel or the thing you help them to express, they are more appreciative of that rather than if you hit every note exactly.
Yeah.
That's just my feeling. Now, on the other side of that is, we don't want you missing every note.
Bless your heart.
Oh, she's so nice. She was cute, wasn't she?
Yes, she was. Just
He was sharp,
adorable.
wasn't he? He was sharp. He was sharp.
Oh my
I
goodness.
think there's that balance there, right? People want you to take them someplace with music, um, but that journey has to be there's something symbiotic about it, right? And so a musician is able to take you that place um, if you're willing to go on the journey with them. And I think that is the real pleasure of music is that it's not something we really have to think about. It just goes straight to your heart, and a
Right.
good musician connects with you in that way. So I was asked this question a couple of days ago while browsing a music store. A great friend of mine, he is a bass guitar player. He plays piano, although he says he doesn't. I've been trying to get him to teach me how to play piano. So now I have my piano app on which I'm learning how to play. And so we were in the keyboard room, and I whipped out my app and sat down in front of the keyboard and started playing chords, and he was watching me. He's, so he got on the other keyboard next to me and began to play. And so he began to show me some things, and he got up and moved my fingers a little bit, thumped them a few times, in terms of my finger flow. He's like, "You got those flying fingers." And we went back to the guitar room, and he asked me a question because he's always known that I've always told him I know how to play an instrument. Every time I get an epiphany that and I told him, I was like, I do play an instrument. I play tambourine very well. And he's like, well, actually, he says, yes, you do play an instrument. um and he asked me a question. He says, I ask every person who says that they want to play an instrument, I ask them this question, and that is, what does music mean to you? Um, what is music to you? And so I'm going to ask you the same thing. I've asked this in various ways on all of our interviews with our artists, and that is, what does music mean to you, Benny?
For me, just me personally, it music means everything to me. simply because it's an outlet. It allows me to once again speak. Even for me, it allows me to speak things that I can't put into words. I
Mm-hmm.
can play frustration and not offend somebody.
Mm-hmm.
I can play I'm aggravated and not aggravate anybody else in the room. And people can sense and feel that. So for me, music is it's key. It's an emotional outlet for me. It keeps me balanced. If I don't have music, after a while I'll go batty. Like, listen, I got to have something, and not just to listen to it. Like, I need to listen to it as much as I need to play it. I have to let it out. So for me, it's an essence of who I am, and it's very important. And I realized that in my life, that the times when I tried to walk away or do less music were the times in my life where I realized I was more unbalanced than any other point in my life.
Mm-hmm. That is very interesting. Mr. C, do you get the same? What does music mean to you? I won't put words in your mouth.
I
I
will.
could though.
I know you would. I'll tell you something very interesting. And I'm like Benny. I can be extremely moved, and I can get out of a mood very easily just listening to music. One thing that I don't talk about too much people, but I enjoy the Boston Pop and the Boston Symphony. I just I just go into another world, particularly with symphony music. Most people don't know that about me because I try to be all the way across the board. But I like the only music that I have a difficult time with is opera. Outside of that, I go completely across the board with music. And I have speakers all over this house. And sometimes I can be by myself and just set up music, and it
Mm.
takes me to a world that I want to be in, not the world already.
It's very interesting because my response to him was very similar to both of your responses, and that is that music is essentially, I cannot imagine my life without it. Um, Even as a writer, I write sometimes, particularly when I'm writing fiction, I write to either a playlist or a song may come to me and I craft a chapter around that song. Or as I write the story, I think, there's a song that fits this chapter that needs to be part of the book's playlist. Because I think that music tells a story in so many ways, and it tells that story. Whether it's a season in my life, there may be a song that really sticks with me during that, during a portion of my life, a song that I just keep returning to during a season because it really is that soundtrack, right?
Mhm.
And so I believe that most people, if they really enjoy music, they just cannot imagine life without it. Like, how do you not play a song? Like, how do you not tap your feet when you're in the grocery store or say a line to that song that comes over, the intercom system
Yeah,
that takes you back and provides a memory for you? Like, how do you not respond when you hear music? I don't know. I don't know how you would. I don't know how you'd be able to do that. I think even the most stoic person gets moved by the right music.
absolutely,
Yes. So,
absolutely.
so I have to ask you, how many instruments do you play?
Six.
Six.
So
Okay.
if you count the three saxophones,
Hmm.
so I play alto, tenor, and soprano. I play flute, piano, and a little bit of bass.
Oh, okay. So how did you learn how to play piano?
So ironically enough, here's the crazy part. So my family is full of musicians. Like everybody. My mom played organ. My grandmother was a pianist, and my three uncles, one was a drummer, the other one was a trumpet player, and then the uncle I'm closest to in age, he was a saxophonist. That's how I ended up learning how to play sax at such a young age, because he left it out on his bed one day, and I came over to my grandmother's house, and he left it out on his bed. He wasn't home, and I went to go tinkering with it. And him being more like my older brother, uh, I remember we came back over there. He called me downstairs. He was like, "Look, you gonna touch my horn?" First, I got beat up for it. First, I got chastised for it first. If you gonna touch it right. And he started teaching me what he was learning. And so by the time he was out of high school and I got his saxophone and I was able to go and get in the band, I was already well ahead. At that point, it was just learning how to read music, but playing the instrument I'd already learned. So that was crazy. So even though I had a musical family, they wouldn't let me major music. They all played instruments. So,
wow.
And so my grandmother was the piano player. She had this old piano, and she kept it tuned on a regular basis, and it still had the mahogany wood on it. Oh, I miss that piano. But she was, she would still pull out a hymn book and play hymns and play Christmas music. And my mom had this little small rolling organ. And so I just went to play piano. My mom was like, "This is how you put your fingers on the piano. Don't let me see your fingers flaying all over the place. Put them here, place them right." And that was it. And then from there, it was basically just honing in on those skills and, like, okay, well, how do I do this? And, well, learn this exercise. Okay, well, I'll learn this exercise. And that's kind of how I got in the piano.
Wow. Okay.
And they all help. I think that for me, even though the piano and the bass were secondary, they helped me as a saxophone player because I can understand chord structure. I have an idea. I already know when I see, if in the sheet music I see a chord symbol, I already know what the chord is. So because I know the chord, I already know the notes. I don't have to think about like, oh, what scale is that? Or what four notes go with that 7 chord? No, I already know it because I've been focusing on the piano and it helps. And then learning to play in those spaces sometimes. I mean, I bring it all together. I think everything that I've learned and done musically and even educationally, I've learned to put it all together and make it all work.
Nice. So if you could meet and chat with any single musician or artist, who would that be?
That's a loaded question. If I had to pick one, I have to say it would be Gerald Albright.
Ah.
Hands down, it would be Gerald Albright. And I don't think I'd ask him so much saxophone questions. I'd ask him about his. If you listen to Gerald, so most people don't realize Gerald Albright was a bass player, and he plays a phenomenal bass. And if you listen to the way he plays saxophone, he plays the sax with an approach as if a bass player was playing. So he's very rhythmically and very soulful in his placement. But I would ask him, where was your struggles? Where's the areas that you struggled as a musician? Not where you're great at. What are the things that you struggle in? Like, what do you hear? What's difficult for you to catch? Those type of things. But yeah, if I could sit with Gerald, that would be the highlight of my life. I don't think I'd want to sit with anybody else living after that.
Wow. I think that's our second time having him listed as one of the artists that someone would love to speak with. I think that he is this. I think this is the second time we've had. He's shown up on the list of people to talk to.
I mean, he's a
well deserving,
player.
I must say, mind you.
Yeah. I mean, he's a phenomenal player. I mean, phenomenal. I mean, and it's kind of hard because I feel like he's tied between him and Kirk Whalum. For me, they're about neck and neck. It's like, but I wouldn't have known who Kirk Whalum was had I not been turned on to Gerald Albright. So it was a process of like, oh well, okay, well, there's Gerald, and I remember the first time I heard Gerald Albright play, it was my, and I was just like, oh really? This is what a saxophone does? wait a minute, somebody been lying to me. Because I didn't know he could do this. Like, are we serious? And I mean, listening to him really pushed me. And then, learning, well, what was he listening to?
Mhm.
And studying, oh, so you listen to Grover Washington. Okay. So now learning Mr. Magic is more important to me now because I know that Grover was the guy that you grew up listening to.
Mhm.
And then learning as I got older, hearing the things that used to blow my mind that Gerald Albright do, and then I'd be like, wait a minute, you got that from Grover? He's doing it. There's no way. Oh man. And it just taught me that importance of, hey, study the people you listen to. Because sometimes it's just about they'll take something that they've heard from someone else. And it's just where they place it. And it changes the whole thing. There's things that I was like, oh, Gerald doing that. Oh, wait a minute, that's Grover was doing that. And you realize Grover got it from somebody. He might have got it from, Coltrane, or he might have got it from
Mhm.
Adderley. And you just listen to all these things. It's like, well, wow, music, the language never changes. It's just how we verbalize it.
Mhm.
But Gerald would
I
be my main one. Ooh,
that is. I want to think. I was thinking about the first time that I heard Kirk Whalum, and I want to say he was featured on a song with the Winans. I want to say, and
yeah.
that was my first time hearing him, and I fell in love. I started buying his albums, and I just there is something about as you say, I don't play the sax, obviously. my instrument of choice is the tambourine. But if I could, I think I'd be with the same people. I want to talk to Gerald. I want to call up Kurt.
I do. Oh man, yeah.
If I
Kirk is.
if I were a saxophone player.
Yeah, I mean, it's those are the to me those two were honestly have the largest influence on my playing. And I think for the most part because some of the stuff that they do I can't do, but I sure try. I sure try, but it's not so much in awe of what they do, but it's picking their mind and how they approach it,
Mhm.
and learning that maybe learning I have been approaching it the right way all the time. I think sometimes as artists we get so hard on ourselves about trying to create,
Mhm.
and we compare ourselves to those who are already successful, and sometimes it's not about comparing, it's just being you. And my line where I've recently learned I can't do what Gerald Albright does because there's only one Gerald Albright. I
This is
can't
correct.
do what Kirk Whalum does because there's only one Kirk Whalum. I can't do what Najee does. I can't do what David Sanborn or Warren Hill or Michael Brecker because they were all themselves. And so
Mhm.
I've learned to just be me. And if there is something that does that I can learn to do and put it in my repertoire, then most definitely I'm going to add it. But it will never be like Gerald. So I just have
This
to
is
be me.
very interesting because my friend and I were talking about being authentic with your music, and I told him, I said, not in a in a big old way of authenticity, but there is something, and yet it's still in that way, right? So when Big O, Oprah talks about authenticity, there is that space where everything you do is it has to be you. So even when you as a musician, when you learn, how to do that riff, on that sax, right? You may have learned it from someone, but it's still going to be Benny at the end of the day.
Right.
And I think a lot of times, as you said, people instead of seeing themselves as students, they almost want to become copycats, and you can't be that because there's only one Benny Yarbrough, right?
Yeah.
And how music, how he interprets a song will be distinctly him. How he plays that interpretation will be distinctly him. And if we are authentic in that display or that expression, our musical expression, and this is one thing my friend was asking about. He's like, you have to realize that not everyone you will connect with everyone, but you will connect with someone.
Exactly.
And that is the thing that you have to realize. And he just began to talk to me about it. He's like, even as you, when you play, he's like, even now, and he's been playing all his life. And he just told me, he's like, what you play won't be for everyone, but it will be for someone. And you
Yeah.
have to make sure that you are authentic when you're playing so that you connect with those someones.
Yeah. And that's true because they're, especially being in a college band, being in a marching band at Morris Brown, and I'm around a bunch of other saxophonists. And
Hmm.
though I love Gerald Albright, there were a few of us, few people in the section, they just didn't like Gerald. I'm like, he's okay. They prefer somebody else, but that's okay. You can't. You're not gonna even the greatest of everything in anything, any goat in anything in any genre, any form. There's still people that just really didn't take to him.
Hmm.
It's hard to
Absolutely.
believe when we talk about that. It's like saying there are people that never really like Michael Jackson. You're like, in our mind, you're like, how is that possible?
How?
But
But
how
it's
is that
possible,
possible?
right?
But it is possible. And it goes to say there are people who will say, "Hey, Elvis is the greatest," and some people are like, "No, I don't think so."
Yeah,
Hey, but it goes to once again that's because he spoke to those people, and
absolutely.
so you can only be you can. There's only enough room in this world for you to be you. There's no room for you to be anybody else. Trying to be
This is
somebody
so
else,
true.
that's crowded. There's no room over there. It's already been done. Just be you.
I'm going to quote you on that. You heard it here in Dante's Den. There's only so much room in this world for you to be you. If you try to be somebody else, it's pretty crowded.
It's pretty crowded.
I love that. You go to my page, you're going to see that later tonight.
Oh, okay, don't worry. I'm gonna put it
I'll
up as
put
soon
your
as we
name,
get finished
I'll
with this
give you
video.
full credit too.
I'm gonna put it on my IG. I'll put it up there.
Now you see why my short conversation was 45 minutes.
I'm gonna. That is a, as our friend over at Fresh Book Festivals. She does the zoom in on a fresh conversation. She always asks for a pearl of wisdom, and I don't think I have to ask you for one because that is worth its weight in titanium, platinum, rhodium. It is worth its weight. That one statement alone. Yes,
Thank you.
absolutely. So, what do people? I found out something, of course, and that is that you are a trained aerospace engineer and physicist. Um, so, I used to work with a. I consulted at a major airline manufacturer many years ago, and so encountered many aerospace engineers. I worked with a physicist or two as well, and so that kind of had my little, that took my antenna up. But what is there that people don't know about you? We found out you're from Denver, and one of my favorite restaurants that I went to, I forget the name of it, was in Five Points. They served some of the best peach cobbler I've ever had outside of my own and maybe my mother.
I think I know which one you're talking about. It's been a while.
Yes.
It's been a while. I want to say I don't want to say the wrong name, so I'm not gonna say it. But I
I
gotta.
forget the wrong name, but I remember that the guy who owned it, he learned because there were so many people in there. I was busy, so being a woman of color and who can cook and who enjoys eating, I had to ask. I'm like, so who's the owner? So the one guy at the window, he told me he's like that guy right there. He pointed to this guy and he's Caucasian. And I was like, oh, okay. And I'm just looking around like all these people are here, right, eating. So no offense, like, please don't call me. Actually, feel free to write me, so I'll explain in more detail in case you don't know.
Right.
He points to this guy. He's Caucasian. I said, "Oh, really?" He's like, "Yes." I said, "Well, where did he learn to cook?" He said, He learned in prison. So he came out and he started the restaurant, and it was extremely. It's been many years since I've been there, but it was extremely popular. And I tell you, it was some of the best peach cobbler um, I've ever had. Some of the
Yeah,
best I've had.
I'm sure that there's a lot that even in that. Think about it. You're you're coming out of prison and you just touch someone's soul with your peach cobbler.
Yes, I went back another day.
See, I knew you cheated. You ain't got another bowl, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
You probably like, how can I get this on the plane though? I want to take some back home. Y'all
I tell you
deliver?
all that food travels. Food will travel on the airplane. Put it in a
Yes,
bag
it
and just
does.
keep it rolling.
Hey, if you
Yes.
put it in the right stuff, it will do what it needs to do.
Yeah. So what do people not know about you and you don't mind sharing?
Oh, I don't know. I'm pretty much an open book. Um, I would say the one thing that most people really don't know about me is that, um, and I think this is one of the reasons why me and Mr. C get along so well. I'm an avid listener to classical music,
Mm,
especially more the modern classical um, guys, because they stretch the imagination. Like, though it's classical, it's the typical orchestral alignment and arrangement, but what they're doing is different.
mhm.
So my favorite here's another one that most people don't know. I actually, even though when I wanted to go to school, I wanted to go to school for music and not for performing, but I wanted to be an arranger. I wanted to be a film scorer.
Huh.
I wanted to arrange for films. And so I listened to John L. Williams on a regular, like he's my favorite all-time composer. I listened to, the Yannis. I listen to
Mhm.
all of these guys because just of what they do. And I try to pick out, like, oh, well, where did you get this from? Of course, being a music minor, I went through all of the classical training. But in that, it's just, man, I love some of the stuff that they do. And every time, some of my favorite movies, you think about it, there was a song in that movie that just gets you every time.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
So generally, in most of my favorite movies, I can tell you who was in charge of the music for that film score.
Wow.
Especially if it's a movie I like. Yeah, I'll be like, oh yeah, yeah, he did that. Yeah, 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 he arranged that. They were like, really? I didn't know he arranged. Yeah, like a good interesting note was Quincy Jones did Color Purple,
Mhm.
and most people don't realize it. He did most of it on a plane,
On an airplane?
hmm traveling,
Wow. I
and
remember seeing the credits for him when I watched the last time I watched The Color Purple, and I saw that, but I did not know that he did it on an airplane.
yeah, he now that's a talent I would love to talk to pick talent. I mean, he can sit back and write out a song without picking up an instrument.
Wow.
That's amazing. But you can that's on a that
He's a
stuff just
quiet
blows my mind.
genius.
Yeah, he really is. Really is.
Wow. 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 Well,
So that's the stuff I geek out about.
that's no. Hey, and that is perfectly fine. If it did, anything is possible.
I'm gonna
Anything is
find that peach
possible.
cobbler for you though.
Okay.
Hey, Benny,
Make that
did
possible.
you hear the Boston Pops play the Beatles?
Yeah, oh my gosh, I love that. That was,
That
yes.
blew my mind.
Oh God.
Yeah.
See, it's stuff like that, right? It's the people that want to take the confines of genres and
Mhm.
break them.
Mhm.
Those are the people I love, or they push the edge of what is what.
Yes. Yes.
Those are the people in my eyes. Those are the people that never get credit until they pass away. But
And you
those are the
find out
people we
they
all
they
learn from.
they shape the whole uh new way of doing things.
Yeah, and we really don't realize it until they're gone. And we're like, oh wait, they did this. Wait, oh now because we go back and look because they're not here and we go over their life like, wow, you really did change a whole a whole genre of music and an influence. I mean, we can look at Michael Jackson, you can look at Prince, you can look at even the jazz greats. I mean, you can look at Adderley, you can look at Coltrane, you can look at Michael Brecker. I mean, shucks, in my opinion, you look at David Sanborn and Gerald Albright and Stanley Clarke, for these things that they do. It blew my mind that I didn't know Stanley Clarke played the saxophone. So the whole time I'm watching Boys in the Hood, that's him on the sax.
What?
Yeah. David Sanborn, when you watch Lethal Weapon, and you always hear that saxophone in the background doing all the, little emotional twirls, whether it be intense or just funny, or that's David Sanborn.
This is why I must learn how to play the piano.
Dave Koz wrote the theme song to Knots Landing.
I want to say that I was looking at something a few weeks ago, just a thought popped in my mind, and I was looking at Knots Landing, and I want to say that I realized that that was the case because I was curious. I forget who I was looking up. And Dave Koz came up. And so I want to say that is a little factoid that was somewhere back there in my mind somewhere. It was not something, that I actively sought out, but it came across in my reading of something else.
Yeah. And it's funny because, when I realized I've always learned, he was one of the guys that influenced me as well. But I didn't know that, at the time, that was one of my mom's favorite shows. I was like, Knots Landing. And I would only watch the show just to hear the theme song.
Oh, really?
And then, all right, theme song's over. I'm going back downstairs or I'm going away or whatever. Bye, Mom. I'll be back up when the show gets ready to end so I can hear the theme song again. I remember recording the opening theme song on VCR, on VHS, so I can learn how to play the theme.
Nice.
I just wanted to play the theme, and that's one of the first. I think that was the first TV selection I had learned on my own. I was like, oh yeah, I got to learn this, and then it was years later. I was like, wait, Dave Koz wrote the theme song? I didn't know that. But yeah, so I've been able to. I'm proud of myself in this interview. That's why I've been able to put my top 5, list them all. Good job.
Oh, well, it's been wonderful. And so we want everyone to know that you can see Bennie Yarbrough. Oh, sorry, Mr. C, you raising your hand?
Yeah, the bottom of the screen is showing that we're doing Daisy Stockton Park 9/11, and the city does make some change. So we're not doing Daisy 9/11. 9/11, we got Bennie Yarbrough at Cinematique. In 9/17, we're doing the city of Daytona in Cypress Park.
In Cypress Park, that is correct.
For 9/11, we're going to Cinematique.
I took it down because I realized I was like, something about that doesn't seem right. That's my production work.
Cinematique, being the boutique theater that they are, has a maximum capacity of 67. But we're out to break that one.
Yes.
So we want to let you know you will be able to see Mr. Bennie Yarbrough at Cinematique Theater on September the 11th for Sunday Jazz at 2:00 p.m. in Daytona Beach. You can get your tickets online. Just go to Cinematique Theater, I believe .org, and you will be able to get your tickets and make sure you select Daytona Beach. So that your face is in the place when Bennie is on sax. And so we want to invite you out to this event, and I'm going to move over here because that's what we do. And we're gonna put up Mr. Yarbrough and Sunday Jazz, so you've got a nice visual reminder of Benny at um, Cinematique Theater on Beach Street, South Beach Street in Daytona Beach, and come out and join us for what I am sure is going to be a wonderful concert. Um, Jazz concert for jazz lovers, and if you don't love jazz, you'll love it by the time he's done with his show.
I'll do my best. No pressure at
it. We want to remind you that we will also, as Mr. C just said, on the 17th of September, we will be in Cypress Park in Daytona Beach, continuing the Midtown Music Concert Series that we have been participating in all summer. This is our second year in Daytona Beach, with the city of Daytona Beach participating with the Midtown Music Concert Series that runs usually from May through September. And we are excited about being on deck next month for another show and bringing some great sounds from A Dante Production. And it has been my pleasure, and I'm going to speak for Mr. C's. I'm going to say it's been his pleasure too to have Mr. Bennie Yarbrough in the den today. It has been a pleasure. It's been nice to be back in the den. As we said earlier, it's been quite some time since we've been in the den, and so we are happy to be back in the den. Join us on September the 11th for some great music, Sunday Jazz at Cinematique Theater. And Mr. Yarbrough, is there anything you would like to leave us with?
I would say be you. The world is looking for you, not for you to be somebody else.
Mm-hmm. It's crowded over there.
It's crowded over there. Them lanes, that's a traffic jam.
It's crowded. I love it. Mr. C, do you have anything you want to tell us?
No, because when I get started, I want to eat dinner tonight sometimes.
So that means the phone call won't be tonight, it'll be tomorrow, right?
Not tonight.
Well, we are so happy that you have joined us this afternoon. It has been a pleasure. It has been a real pleasure. And we look forward to having you back in Dante's Den.
I'm looking forward to it too. I had so much fun.
Yes, we've enjoyed it. Well, everybody, we will see you Sunday, September the 11th at 2:00 p.m. at Cinematique Theater, South Beach Street, for Bennie Yarbrough at Sunday Jazz. This has been Dante's Den. I'm your host, LD Robinson, and we've been here with Mr. Chauncey Dunham and our guest extraordinaire, Mr. Bennie Yarbrough. Have a good afternoon. We'll see you later.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.